want you to pause for a moment, take a slow breath, and set your phone aside. I see you. I see how you've been existing in the dim glow of a screen, waiting for a notification that never arrives. You've been watching that empty chat, hoping for some sign, some flicker of the person you once knew. But this silence isn't random. It's a loud and intentional decision. It's a heavy kind of quiet, isn't it? The kind that makes you question your worth and even your sanity. You revisit old messages, searching for the exact point where everything changed. You wonder if you said something wrong, or if they're just busy. But deep down, in that place you hesitate to face, you already know the answer. The silence isn't a pause, it's a tool. We need to talk about what it truly means when a narcissist disappears. It's the thought that keeps you awake at San Linge.m, the one that sinks your stomach every time a notification appears that isn't from them. You think their absence means you're not enough. But I'm here to tell you otherwise. I'm here to reveal what's really happening behind their silence. There's a unique kind of cruelty in prolonged silence. It's meant to make you feel invisible in your own life. It turns you into a seeker, a pleader, and a child all at once. You wait for permission to feel okay again, while they hold that permission just beyond your reach. It's a power play where they only win if you keep searching for them. Most people will tell you to move on, but I know it's not that easy. Your mind is wired to seek the closure they refuse to give. You're stuck in unresolved grief, mourning someone who is still alive, still breathing, and choosing not to speak to you. It feels like a loss without a goodbye. But today, we're going to let go of that illusion. I want you to understand this isn't about your worth. It never was. A narcissist uses silence the way a sculptor uses tools, shaping you into someone more compliant, more desperate, and easier to grasp. If they aren't reaching out, it's not because you're forgettable. It's because they're testing how far your loyalty will stretch while you're left longing for them. Have you noticed how silence feels heavier than any argument? Words can be challenged, but silence is a barrier you can't cross. It leaves you speaking into emptiness, with only your own echo in return. And they know this. They understand exactly how painful it is to feel erased. It's the deepest form of dismissal. It's unsettling. Think about how much energy you've spent protecting their image in your mind. You make excuses for their absence. You tell yourself they're overwhelmed, stressed, or struggling. You work tirelessly to give them understanding they never offered you. But what if the reason they aren't reaching out is simpler and darker? What if their silence is the most honest thing they've shown you? This goes beyond missed messages. It's about realizing you're being treated like an object placed on a shelf. When they want you, they pick you up. When they're done, they set you aside without a second thought about the dust that gathers as you wait. We're going to strip away the layers of this behavior until nothing remains hidden. You've been waiting for them to break the silence, but now you're going to break the pattern. We're moving past the question of why and stepping into what comes next. Because when a narcissist stops calling or texting for a long time, it reveals something very clear about them and about your future. Stay with me. We're going deeper, and you're coming out stronger. To a narcissist, communication isn't about connection. It's about control. If they don't reach out to hear you, they reach out to check if you're still available to them. When the contact stops, it usually means one of three things. They've found someone else to reflect their needs, They're punishing you for something they perceived, or they've simply lost interest. It's a cold, calculated pattern hidden beneath a human surface. Picture a child with a toy. At first, the toy is everything: new, exciting, and always close. But over time, the novelty fades, and the toy is left in a corner. The toy didn't change or lose value. The child just found something else to focus on. In this situation, you are that toy, left waiting to be picked up again. When they disappear for weeks or months, they're using unpredictability to keep you attached. By making their attention inconsistent, they turn your love into something addictive. You become like a gambler at a slot machine, pulling the lever again and again, hoping for that one moment of affection that makes all the losses feel worthwhile. The silence becomes the losing streak that keeps you hooked. Hooked. Let's be honest. If they aren't texting you, they're either giving their attention to someone else or enjoying the fact that you're still longing for them. Narcissists have a distorted sense of object permanence. When you're not directly in front of them, you stop existing as a person with emotions. You become an idea, something they only engage with when it benefits their ego. This extended silence is often a slow, quiet form of discard. They avoid ending things outright because they don't want to lose a backup option. Instead, they fade away, leaving the door slightly open so they can return if their new situation falls apart. They keep you suspended while they live an entirely separate life. It's a psychological pause, a waiting game where they hope you'll reach out first, just to prove they still have control. Every time you send a "Are you okay?" message, you give them a small rush of satisfaction. You confirm that you're still waiting, still available, still affected. You show them their absence hasn't cost them anything, and that feeds their fragile ego. Deep down, narcissists fear being forgotten. Ironically, they use silence to ensure they remain at the center of your thoughts. It's a strange form of control. By disappearing, they become more present in your mind than if they had stayed. They occupy your thoughts without giving anything in return. It's a calculated and predatory dynamic. If months have passed, it often means they've shifted their internal discomfort onto you, making you feel like the problem so they can feel blameless. By staying silent, they avoid dealing with your real emotions. They want a version of you that is always easy, always available, and never demanding. Since you have needs, they simply step away until it suits them to return. This is what they don't want you to realize. Their silence reveals their emptiness. A healthy person doesn't withhold affection to feel powerful. Only someone deeply insecure needs to see you struggle in order to feel whole. Their silence isn't proof that you lack value. It reflects their lack of depth and character. So when your phone stays quiet, understand it's not because you aren't worth reaching out to. It's because they are incapable of the connection you're offering. You're offering something meaningful to someone who cannot receive it. You have to stop trying to give energy to someone who isn't really there. The silence isn't a puzzle to solve. It's an answer in itself. Now, let's talk about the shift. There comes a moment when the waiting begins to change. It's subtle at first. You wake up, and for a few seconds, you don't reach for your phone. You sip your coffee and realize you haven't thought about them for a whole minute. The balance and bri. This is where the balance starts to shift. The silence that once trapped you slowly becomes a space where you reconnect with yourself. You stop playing detective. You stop checking their last seen status. You stop asking others about them. What once felt empty starts to feel calm. You begin to notice that their absence also means freedom from their criticism manipulation, and chaos. The quiet remains, but now it feels clean, like fresh air. This is the turning point they never expected. They thought you would break, but instead, you're beginning to heal. They relied on your need for them to sustain their ego, but now that need is fading. When you stop chasing, they lose their hold. They are no longer the center of your world, and that's when the panic begins. Not for you, but for them. You start moving differently, with a sense of ease. You dress for yourself, laugh freely, and exist without seeking their approval. You take back control of your emotions. You're no longer waiting for them to decide how you feel. It's like turning off a screen and finally seeing the real world again. And then something interesting happens. When they sense you've stopped waiting, they often come back. It's as if they can feel your detachment. They might send a short, casual message late at night. Not because they truly miss you, but because they miss having control over you. They return to see if you're still where they left you. But now, everything is different. You look at your phone, and instead of feeling that familiar rush, you feel nothing, or maybe just mild annoyance, like brushing away small distractions. You begin to recognize the manipulation for what it truly is. That prolonged silence was meant to weaken you, but instead, you've learned how to sustain yourself. When they return, it feels insignificant and empty. The shift is undeniable. The power has changed hands. It's no longer about whether they reach out. It's about whether you even care to respond. You start to see that what you thought was destiny was just a story they created to keep you playing a role. But now you've stepped away. You've let go of the script. You're in control, and you've decided they no longer have a place in your next chapter. Slowly, you realize you weren't just hurt by their silence. You were held back by your own hope. And once that hope is redirected toward yourself, you become untouchable. A narcissist doesn't fear your anger. They fear your indifference. The moment you genuinely stop caring whether they ever contact you again, you've found your way out. You've stepped into the light. Can you feel that weight lifting? It's your own voice returning. You're finally speaking your truth, even if it's only to yourself. You're acknowledging that you deserve someone who didn't treat communication like a bargaining tool. You deserved a love that was consistent, not one that came and went. The clarity is powerful. This is where your mindset changes. You stop asking why they aren't, to reaching out and start asking why you would even want them to. Their silence became the reflection you needed to see your own strength. It created the space for your self-respect to grow. You're no longer being ignored. You're being protected by the very silence that once hurt you. Take that in. Now let's face the harder truth, the cost of that silence. It took months, maybe even years, from your life. Time spent waiting on someone who was never truly present. You missed out on real connections because your heart was tied to someone unavailable. You were stuck in a pause, holding on to someone who had already moved forward. That's the real loss, a life only half lived. We need to acknowledge the reality of what you went through. Think about the nights you cried alone, trying to keep it together. Think about how often you checked their social media until it became exhausting. That wasn't love. It was emotional overwhelm. It was your body signaling that something wasn't right. The narcissist didn't just ignore your pain. They depended on it. Their silence is a form of emotional abandonment that leaves deep marks. It activates the same responses in your brain as physical pain. When they chose not to reach out, they were choosing their comfort over your peace. They were accepting your suffering as the cost of maintaining their control. It's a level of detachment that's difficult to process. You have to accept that they never truly valued you. They valued what you gave them. The person you believed in was an illusion, carefully shaped to draw you in. The silence reveals the truth. Their indifference shows who they really are. They didn't lose you. They let you go, assuming they could return whenever they wanted. It strips away your sense of worth. If you stay in that cycle, you begin to feel empty, questioning your ability to be loved. You start to believe that silence is all you deserve. You settle for the smallest pieces of attention and convince yourself it's enough. The longer you wait, the more you teach yourself to accept less than you deserve. It slowly wears you down. And what about them? Their reality is a cycle of emptiness. They move from one person to another, leaving damage behind, but never finding fulfillment. They're constantly avoiding themselves. The silence they gave you reflects the emptiness within them. Nothing external will ever fill that space. You might feel like you weren't enough, that if you had been better, things would have been different. But that thought doesn't come from truth. It comes from the impact they left on you. In reality, there was nothing you could have done to change the outcome. Someone who uses silence as control, would always find a way to control. The issue was never your worth. It was their inability to connect in a healthy way. This realization can be painful, but it's necessary. Like a fire that clears away what's dead so something new can grow. This pain is removing the illusion. You're finally seeing the relationship for what it was, a one-sided exchange. You gave, and they took. The investment may be gone, but you are still here, and you still have everything you need to build something real and meaningful. Don't let the why pull you back into that darkness. When a narcissist goes silent for a long time, they're showing you exactly where you stand in their world. Nowhere. It's a painful truth, but it's also the clarity that can save you. Once you accept that they aren't coming to rescue you, something shifts. You realize that you are the one who has to save yourself. That's where the real healing begins. The final outcome of their silence is the end of maybe. No more maybe they'll change. No more maybe they're just busy. That maybe was the cage, and the no is what sets you free. When you truly accept that no, you step out of that prison. The air might feel cold at first, but it's real. And for the first time in a long while, you're moving toward a future that doesn't include their shadow. Dear. Now we're stepping into the final stage, and you can feel the difference. The darkness is behind you. You faced it, you endured it, and you're still standing. This is where healing turns into something powerful, moving from the silence of abandonment to the silence of strength is one of the deepest transformations a person can experience, and you're already on that path. Real empowerment isn't loud or forceful. It's calm and steady. It's the quiet confidence of feeling grounded in yourself. It's looking at a silent phone and feeling nothing but peace. That peace is yours. You paid for it with your time, your pain, and your growth. And now no one can take it from you. I want to acknowledge your pain. It's real. There will still be moments when the loneliness feels overwhelming, like it might consume you. But that pain is your heart learning to beat for itself again. It's strength rebuilding. You're not broken, you're rebuilding. You're clearing out what no longer fits so you can create something stronger and more meaningful. What they thought would destroy you actually gave birth to a new version of you, someone who knows their worth. Inconsistent love, someone who's too focused on living fully to care about a message from someone who never truly understood them. You're taking your story back. You're no longer the one who was ignored. You're the one who chose to walk away. You're no longer overlooking the warning signs. You're honoring them. You are not a side character in someone else's story anymore. You are the center of your own. That silence wasn't the end. It was a pause. And now, your next chapter is beginning. Think about all the love you gave, your patience, your care, your loyalty. Now imagine turning all of that inward. Imagine giving yourself the same understanding you gave them. Imagine supporting your own dreams the way you supported their chaos. That's where everything changes. That's where you become truly strong. You will find real connection, not the intense, draining kind, but the steady, genuine kind that helps you grow. You'll meet people who show up because they want to, not because you chase them. You'll experience a kind of love that feels natural, not forced. That silence you endured wasn't meaningless. It led you here to something better. Amanda, as this journey comes to a close, take a moment to notice what's still here. The world is moving forward. The sun still rises. And you are still here, stronger, wiser, and more aware than before. Their silence, even if unintentional, gave you something valuable, your freedom. They tried to shut you out, but instead, they gave you space to rediscover yourself. Ben, so don't look back at the phone, look ahead. There is so much waiting for you. Real happiness, steady peace, and a life that belongs entirely to you. You made it through the hardest part. You faced the fire and come out stronger. And here's the truth to carry with you. When a narcissist stops reaching out, they haven't won. They've simply run out of ways to avoid the strength you carry. They chose distance, but you are the light, and now it's your time to rise. Stop waiting for something that was never real, and start creating the life that truly is. You were always the answer you were searching for.